Episode episode 15 of the Choose to Love podcast.
15.
What you got for us, Bill?
Well, just wanted to have a conversation. I think it's one that we kind of like dabbled,
Dabbled.
touched on before, and it's emotions, feelings.
Yay.
Yeah, exactly. So I think what I wanted to talk, I think emotions is a something that's hard for anybody, female, male, to grasp fully. But why do you think that it's harder or more difficult for men to express their feelings or to talk about feelings in general? Especially like in a relationship, I think is where you see the struggle being more apparent because, when you're in a relationship, the woman's going to be like, well, I need more from you. You're not giving me this. You're not giving me that. You feel very cold and blah, blah, blah.
So what's the question?
So why do you feel like men struggle more with talk? What are you looking
There's
at?
like a little bit of
They struggle more to talk about their feelings and emotions. Why is this such? Do you well in your personal opinion, do you feel like it's a struggle or a burden to talk about emotions? Like, do you feel like how do you feel?
how do I feel about emotions?
How do you feel about feelings?
Oh man, they're tiring. They're draining. I
Hmm.
I I believe that most men have this internal fight within them where they feel a certain way. Like they feel the pressures of what the world puts on us. The pressures of having to provide, the pressures of having to go out there and do the things that men do to take care of our families. And it's not that like necessarily we don't feel emotions. I just think we suppress them. Or
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
for the most part, they like suppress them to be able to just because there's this narrative out there that like no one cares. Suck it up. You have to do it anyway. Be a man.
Mm-hmm.
That's the narrative.
Right.
But if we follow the example of Jesus, he didn't suck it up.
Exactly.
He didn't just say, I have to do this anyways. Like he was raw in his emotions.
Yeah.
Jesus was very transparent with his disciples. I mean, the example of him on the cross, he was very raw with his emotions, asking his father and asking God, like, is there another way?
I mean, it was so intense that he like sweat blood.
Yeah.
That was how intense the emotions were. And Jesus wept, right? He wept, he felt for those who he was helping.
But I think it's like the conversation we were having the other day with my parents, where it's just like, where I kept saying, like, the devil's done a good job at doing the little things over the course of a long period, over
Mm-hmm.
the course of a century, hundreds of years, right? Where like it's a little tweak on, okay, we're gonna start taking men and say that like men are tough, built for tough.
Mm-hmm.
Don't share your emotions. Be a man. Don't open up to your wife. Be a man. And so like by the time we get to today, 2024, all of a sudden this narrative of like just just go out and do it. No one's gonna care what you have to say. Like there's this video on it on online on the online on the interwebs
On the online.
on the interwebs where it's a bunch of men, just like a clips to a bunch of guys where every guy gets asked, who do you call when you're feeling sad, when you're feeling stressed, when you feel whatever emotion, right? Whatever emotion that's difficult. Even when it's a good emotion, like who do you call when you're happy?
Mm-hmm.
And like every clip, every guy says nobody.
Mm.
But it's not like a sad like nobody. It's like
It's
a
like I'm a man.
yeah, it's like a man like like what who am I supposed to call? Like, it's gotten to that point
Mm,
where
that's so
men
sad
it is.
because if
And I mean, to be honest, I feel that way too. And it's
yeah, and
not that
that's good. I want you to be
and
honest.
it's not that I don't confide in you. It's just like there's this internal battle of like, like it's not that big of a deal. So let me I know I still have to get up. I know I still have to do the things I have to do. So let me just get up and go. But I think that's a really good trick of the enemy. He's not creating
Mhm.
anything new. He's just taking something and twisting it to be able to take something that God created for good, and he's spun it for
Exactly.
evil for his good.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't do anything but isolate men.
Yeah.
And when you because
Yeah.
because
Feelings are connection.
men can have a good strong group of friendships, teens, 20s, but as you start having your own family, you start distancing yourself because you start having your responsibilities as a father, as a husband, and naturally you start doing more things with your own family and your friends start doing things with their own family, and so you're not as tethered with other people. All of a sudden, those friendships are apart, so you're isolated more, and then you're
Mhm.
isolated mentally, and that's what the devil wants to do. He wants to isolate people, so then that way he can feed them the lies, and then the people start believing in the lies. So
Mhm.
that's the importance of like being in community. That's the importance of
Mhm.
having good friendships. That's the importance of knowing that, like, yeah, I'm a man and I still got to wake up tomorrow, but I can at least share with somebody. And that's a huge reason. Like, I really didn't want to go to Bible study last night, and I was even stubborn in my own mind. I was like, I'm not going to talk today. Let me just go and just like stay quiet. And it didn't take long for me to say something, but
No.
but in my own mind, I'm just thinking that like that's so important to have community where you can share. And
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
why I invite every man that I come across to that group. But let me just finish, because it's so good because it's a lot of men in that group. Like last night there was 19 guys, sometimes there's up to 30 guys. And you hear men talking about their previous divorce, death, sickness, lust, and whatever struggles they may be going through. And it makes you realize that I'm I'm being naive and ignorant to the fact that I think that I'm going through some of these problems that I'm going through alone.
Mhm.
So to know that I'm not, and that men that are way ahead of me in life, 40, 50 years plus, not 50, 40 years plus, and men who are you know, 10 years behind me in age, that we're all still going through these journeys as being a man, and then again they're gonna continue. So I still, yes, have to be a man, but I get to be a man the way God intended, not the way that the world deems is a man.
Exactly.
Which who the hell knows what a man is these days? Right.
Exactly. But like when we look at the Bible, there are numerous men, strong men, men who fought bears, men who won battles, who talk about weeping in the Bible, in Psalms. They talk about weeping and that their bed is so wet with their tears and
Mm,
that they're angry at God. They talk about all their feelings. So it's all over the Bible, men and their feelings. God feels in the whole Bible, right? God the Father, God the Son, God the Spirit. It all talks about the feelings.
yeah.
And God designed us in his image. He designed us to feel because us feeling is a connection to him, and it's also a connection to another person. It's how we get intimate with people, how we build relationships. But it's not to say, so it is important, I think, to share your emotions, but it's also not to say that you have to share your emotions with everybody. It's
Yeah.
choosing people who you can be in a group, right? You can be in a group like you are in a Bible study and you can share it, but you don't necessarily have to share your deep uh emotion that you're struggling with everybody. You can pull somebody aside from that group and say, "Hey, can I talk to you?" Somebody that you feel like you connect, more with,
Right.
that you trust more.
I mean, you definitely have to be mindful who you share
Yeah.
good news with and bad news with,
Yeah.
successes and failures,
Mhm.
because there's people who don't know how to celebrate well with you.
Yeah.
There's people out there who definitely want to see you fail, even if they don't show it in person. So you can't be sharing everything with everybody, like you just said. I'm trying to find because there's there's a verse
What do you
that I remember just going through when we were going through the miscarriages, where it kind of it. And here's the thing, like you sound weak sometimes when you're like talking like this as a man. Like it comforted me.
But the exact so why?
It's
It's a
it's
mental
condition. It's
thing.
a condition.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
something that people have to confront because it's not healthy. It's not physically healthy, it's not mentally healthy. And so,
But it's the job of course, like I have to be the one to change. At the end of the day, you can't change me. But
yeah.
it's the responsibility of the couple, of the person that you're doing life with. If we're talking to married people, if we're talking to married people, you have to be able to create that safe place for your husband
Mhm.
to be able to feel like, okay, I'm gonna share this. Don't hold this against me.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
if I share it with you in a future argument, don't bring that up and use that against me.
Mhm.
Don't use that weakness against me,
Right.
because then you're hitting me at my lowest. And
Mhm.
if you hit me at my lowest, then you broke my trust. And that, like, certain things, like, you've done a really good job of being able to allow me to express myself.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. But but we have to be the the wives have to be mindful. Like, do you want your husband to be um vulnerable, open? Then allow for that to be spoken and shared, because if you make fun of him, if he does cry, if he's a crier, I'm not a
Mm.
crier.
Mhm. Yeah, but that's another thing.
No, that I might be getting there.
But
Another
listen,
5 years of
but
seasoning, and I might
listen,
get there, because like
you're
I
working, your soul working, right? And
I
that's okay. But
I,
look,
I
it's
feel it
okay
in my
to
throat.
cry. It's a good thing to cry in the presence of God, right? When do we
I c-
see men crying in the presence of God? We don't really see it that much because it's considered weakness when you cry.
yeah, I mean, I definitely still feel weak when I do it. And
Exactly.
like the one
And
the
so,
one
but
the one
that's,
time the one thing that gets me every time, like every time, is just worship music,
but I have never seen you actually
because I
cry.
hold it,
But why?
because I'm a man.
But do you understand how on the other side how that could be for you? Like if you actually allow those tears to
Sometimes
come
I allow
out.
tears to trickle down. Listen, I'm getting there.
I'm
Okay,
not I'm not pushing. I'm
don't
just
push me
trying
to
to
cry.
understand, what is the hold? Is it because like you said it's something that you just conditioned since childhood like oh like boys don't cry or
No,
like
I don't think
no you got to suck it up.
no, I mean, I never got that in my house from my parents. Like, I mean, my my dad was a crier. I remember seeing my dad cry every weekend. Sorry, dad.
It's okay. You
But it's just I think it's just it's a personality thing to think, like, again, personality, what the
yeah.
world says, to think that, like, I need to be tough. And this is how I show toughness. And then eventually you're calloused. And so to
Yeah.
break the callus, you have to start wanting to change. And not that I want to
Mm.
cry. I'm not looking to cry. It's just I'm becoming more sensitive to yeah. I'm telling you, like, it's I'm hearing myself talk and I'm like, this dude is soft. But like certain things, as you age, you're like, you know what? I don't care. I don't necessarily. I'm starting to care less about what people think,
Mhm.
but I still do care about what people think.
Yeah.
If I'm being
Yeah,
honest.
it's
But
human.
but I heard it today. It's funny that I mentioned that. It's not um it's not my right to care what people think about me. That's their opinion.
Mhm.
It has nothing to do with me.
Mhm.
So why should I own it?
Right. Well, Andy Mineo talks about it in his song, right? What's the verse he says? Uh, what's the verse? You know, I'm talking about the song that he talks. That's none of my business. What they say about me.
Yeah.
That's none of my business.
That's none of my business.
What they say about me.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It isn't. Why are you gonna hold that? Um, and like let that ruin your day or let that ruin your mood when maybe it's something you shouldn't even have heard that someone told you, but like for what? For what reason? You know? Um, man, there's just so much to impact here. But I think too, the focus is men because it's this like stereotype, right? That men need to be macho. But I think women also can struggle with this. I think there are women out there who were taught to just like suck it up. Oh no, no, you're fine. You're fine. You're okay.
So this isn't the exact verse that I was looking for, but Psalm 18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. He rescues those whose spirits are crushed. And I know I don't have time to look for it, but
What's the verse that you're like what does it say?
it basically summed up that when you cry, he cries.
Is it the one that okay? I guess we found similar verses. I can't remember the one that I'm talking about either, but the one that he collects your tears in a bottle.
Yeah, I think that's in Psalms as well.
Yeah, it is. And
Shout out to Psalms. Shout out to Proverbs.
that's one that helped me through that uh, um journey of our life or season of our life. Um,
Why are you trying to get me on why are you trying to get me on my
well,
emotions right now?
I think it's a really good subject. I think it's a really good thing to touch upon, especially with Christianity, because church has gotten this wrong as well. Where it's like, I mean, there's the famous Jeremiah verse, right, where it talks about like your feelings are deceptive and yes, but it doesn't mean that you don't feel, right? It doesn't mean that you put those feelings aside. I think the world will say like, "Oh, it's all about your feelings." Like if you're feeling like this, then yeah, go for it.
Oh yeah.
But then the
Yeah,
church is
don't
like, "Oh no, you can't trust your feelings." But I think it's you got to meet in the middle, right? It's like you can have your feelings, but you also have to have the wisdom of God to navigate through those feelings because the Bible talks about, what's the verse? It's be so like you I can't think of the verse. It's like something about feeling anger, but it's like what you it's you will feel the emotion, but it's what you do with that emotion that it can be the sin. It's not that the emotion is the sin or the feeling is the sin. It's what you do, how you react
for sure.
is the sin.
I mean, again, Jesus, ultimate example.
Yeah.
He felt anger. He felt betrayal. He felt sad. He was hurt physically, emotionally. He was disappointed a lot. Those are all emotions. He
Mhm.
cried.
Mhm.
He bled. He felt pain, right? So it's not again like you just said. It's not that you can't feel them. It's how we navigate through the feeling of it. Do we allow that feeling to then become an identity? At the end of the day, God just doesn't want us to have an identity in anything but Him. And a lot of times, like the world says, "Oh, you feel this way, then you are."
Yeah.
Yeah, your heart is deceptive. Your mind is deceptive. The thing that, like, a lot of times when we say if we're in the Spirit and we're being led by the Holy Spirit, that gut feeling is not really your gut feeling. Like that's been termed,
Mhm.
but that gut feeling that you have, a lot of times, if you're walking with God, that's the Holy Spirit.
Yeah,
That's you being discerned not by your emotions because your emotions will deceive you.
Exactly.
Like, follow your heart is probably one of the biggest lies. No, your heart will lie to you.
Mhm.
Your heart will lead you astray. What is your spirit telling you? What is the
Yeah,
Holy
it's
Spirit
where
telling you?
that biblical wisdom comes in, right? It's you have to be in your word.
My
But
heart says
but it
stay in
doesn't
bed and sleep,
mean that
especially today.
emotions aren't a good thing. Even the bad ones, even anger can be for good, right? Because anger
Yeah.
helps us fight for
Have passion towards
injustice.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, and injustice. So it's not to say that you can't have those feelings, but again, it's being in your word, having godly wisdom to then navigate through them and not stay there.
Yeah.
Because you have to sit in the feelings too. You can't just brush it off and try to fix it. Because a lot of us are
Yeah.
out here
Yeah.
like, oh
You,
no, 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 no. I am in a relationship with God. I'm not gonna be sad. I'm not depressed. Nope. That's not me. Nope. I can't do it. It's not biblical. No. Why are you here? What's going on? What is God telling you in this season right here? Why are you feeling this way? What happened? You have to sit with it's hard sometimes to sit in that feeling, right?
mm,
We can talk about the seasons in our marriage where we had to sit in those feelings and we
mm,
had to talk about it. And sometimes it was difficult for me and sometimes it was difficult for you to talk about feelings because you're like, I'm tired of talking about feelings. But it is hard. It is hard to talk about it, but you have to. You have to my personal opinion, you have to face the feelings or the feelings control you. Because whether you think yes or no, they are going to control you later down the line where you haven't dealt with that emotion and now you're lashing out on your spouse because of
mm.
what happened here that you didn't deal with. And I think even sometimes things we have in a way dealt with and talked about can even come up later on where you're like, ooh, I'm feeling this like insecurity again of
Mm,
because of what happened here.
mm.
So I think it is very important to have that emotional intelligence and be able to talk about emotions in your marriage, no matter how many times you have to do it. Like,
I mean, you you're with somebody for 40, 50 years. You're eventually gonna come around to the same conversation multiple times,
right.
thousands of
But you
times.
don't even have to be 40 years, and we've done that in about a month.
Yeah, I mean, sit in it, just don't soak in it.
Yeah.
Because when it's just again, anything, anything apart from God can create idols in our life. And then I've said this before, you allow the devil a foothold, he's coming in for the whole house.
Mhm.
So just being mindful.
Yeah, for sure. You don't wanna, use it as a crutch.
A crutch,
You
clutch,
don't wanna use it
clutch.
as a crutch because it's not it's not also like, don't try to fix it, right? Because 'Cause we're also very much in the mindset of like, "Oh my gosh, I have to fix it." Like, if I tell you something, sometimes I'm like, "I'm not
Hmm.
asking you for advice. I'm not asking you to
Yeah, I
fix
do that
it."
to you too. Okay, vice
No,
versa.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm saying all of us, we're all fixers. But sometimes we just gotta let the person feel, even with our kids, right? They're like, today is a perfect example. Nehemiah is over here worried about the rain. And we're like, why are you worried? You don't have to worry. But it's normal to worry, right? It's okay to have a conversation why we don't have to worry. But you can say, I feel like
So he's asked
you
you
could say
900
like
times.
I feel okay. You see, like you did say like you see I'm not worried
Yeah.
because XYZ. But to because I think a lot of times like our friends or our spouse will say something and we'll be like, oh no 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 you can't feel like that. Like look at what God has done for you.
Hmm.
No, you can't do that. But now you're telling like that doesn't feel good when someone tells you that. When I will say this, when I shared my disappointment and sadness about having a miscarriage. People are like, "Oh, no, 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 it's common. It happens to everybody." Like, it happens to a lot of people for the first time. And I'm like, "Okay, I'm still sad, and it still sucks."
Oh
But
my gosh, you're right. I feel way better.
yeah, exactly, and it doesn't come from a bad place, because like, again, we're all trying to fix,
Yeah.
but I think what we need to try to learn to do more is just listen. Listen and just validate, right? Validate that yeah, we're human, we're gonna feel, yeah, you're right, that sucks. I'm
I
so
mean,
sorry. Uh, and then when the time is right, if the person does ask for a hand where like they want, what do you think? Like, what should I do? I'm not sure what my next step is. That's when they're asking you to step in and give advice.
yeah.
Um, but it's also important to give biblical advice, right? Because that will empower people more so than your own ideas.
Yeah, I think the ideal man has been painted wrong. Like we think that a man needs to be strong by standing up for what he believes in. Yeah, no, my
Oh,
now my
we do?
stomach. My stomachs are talking to each other. But being strong biblically is being on your knees in submission before God.
Yeah.
Being a good leader means that you're actually a good follower of Christ. So to lead, you have to follow. To stand, you have to first kneel.
Mm-hmm.
So the picture has been painted opposite by the world, and that's where the biblical reference of like you can be in the world, just don't be of it, because you have to go and you still have to work, you still have to put in the hours because I've put this upon you as a responsibility as a man, going back to like tying this together full circle. But okay, in the world, but not of it. I'm in the world, but I'm not gonna lead my family. I'm not gonna be a man the way the world deems. I'm gonna see my ultimate example, Jesus, and I'm gonna say, he did it that way. That's the way I'm gonna do it
Mm-hmm.
because he was the ultimate man. Because at the end of the day, he did the ultimate sacrifice that no other man would be willing to do. I know I wouldn't be willing to die for other people, most people. I'd be willing to die for you and the kids and a couple other people, but for the most part, like the world, mm-mm. But that guy did it.
Mm-hmm.
That guy, Jesus. Shout out. Good topic.
Can't take all the credit, but
I know. I'll give you the credit though. You did a good job. You did a good job narrating it, facilitating it.
oh, thank
Episode
you.
15. I said 15?
Yeah.
Episode 15. Stay consistent. Let's get to triple digits one day. We'll see you guys episode 16. Have a beautiful time. Comment, like, subscribe. Help us out.